It's known as the Versailles of the jungle, and it was built by Mobutu Sese Seko to be his personal palace. 25 years after his downfall, all that remains are these ruins in Kawele, in the northwest of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In that time, they have witnessed 2 civil wars.
If the palace is in this state, it's because the crisis is in full swing in the country. If there was no crisis in the country, the late Marshal's house would not be in such a state of disrepair. It is accessible in several places, so thieves come from everywhere, from Wamba, from Ngoloma, to loot it.
It's hard now to imagine it in its former glory, when dignitaries from around the world were received here by the former president. For 32 years, he ruled with an iron fist and, according to some estimates, amassed as much as $5 billion in personal wealth while in office. Today, though, little remains that speaks to his stronghold over the town of Gbadolite, save for this bust in front of the town hall. But in the minds of the locals, his memory still looms large. There's a sense of nostalgia.
I was told that President Mobutu did not allow the use of the telephone, but the country was doing quite well. Our parents were working, money was flowing. It helped to bring us up.
Though Mobutu headed up an authoritarian regime, many here seem to accept his sometimes punishing rule, the price to pay for a strong and united nation.
It was a dictatorship which has its bad sides, but which also has its good sides. It helped us so that the country in its time evolved well, although there was the dictatorship. But now that there is democracy, I think that we have taken a step backwards, because there is no respect for the authorities, for the state.
According to some, the Mobutu dictatorship also provided security against external threats.
President Mobutu defended national unity. We have 9 neighbours. No neighbour has ever dared to take a single part of our territory, as you can see today.
On the 17th of May 1997, Mobutu was overthrown by a rebellion led by Laurent Désiré Kabila. The ousted president died of cancer 4 months later, in Morocco, where he is buried. His first wife and several of his children are buried here in Gbadolite. Their graves were desecrated. Their remains are now interred in a cemetery nearby.
An ancestral skill which is now under threat. In Garian, in northwestern Libya, also known as the capital of pottery, this has long been the pride and joy of the town. The ochre earth drawn from the neighbouring Jebel Musa massif is transformed into clay before being shaped into a dish, pot or jug.
This is part of our identity. We are very attached to it because it represents the identity of Libya.
But since the 1980s, this craft has been in constant decline as it has not kept up with modernisation, and today is severely lacking in manpower.
Because of the lack of handicraft schools, there is no new generation learning how to do the craft, so we have to rely on the elder ones, who with age will also stop.
With an ageing workforce and increasingly tough foreign competition, as well as products imported at a lower cost from Turkey and China, it is difficult to be competitive in a country which has been in the grip of chaos since the fall of the Gaddafi regime in 2011. The banking system is archaic and the foreign exchange regulations very protectionist, not to mention the logistical problems. Despite everything, some people still have faith in Garian pottery and are banking on online sales to save it.
We tried to facilitate the transportation of pottery to Libyans living abroad, to Britain, Germany, the US and Canada at first, and it was a great success. Then we started to solve the problems related to packaging. We don't have good quality materials, so we invested in packaging machines.
Ali has not yet stepped into online business, but he knows that this will help his craft survive. While waiting for his turn to be equipped to ship his pottery, he continues to mould his pieces and decorate them with natural pigments, as he has done for 25 years, and as his father did before him. No matter what, never lose track of them, so that they don't regain their natural fear of humans. That's the only way to live in peace with the gorillas. So every morning, the eco-guides of the Loango National Park in Gabon go deep into the forest in search of the nests where the gorillas have spent the night.
They are not there anymore. They got up. They left. So we're looking now. We can see the direction in which they left. We can see today's droppings, fresh droppings, and we follow them. We can see the traces of food, too. We follow as we go along.
The eco-guides soon find Kamaya, one of the 1,500 or so silverback gorillas that live in the nature reserve. To them, he is an old friend, as he hasn't run away from humans for a while now.
Kamaya is sitting comfortably. He's lying down. He's sleeping. He's confident in us, because it's a big job that we've done. It's been years of really hard work to get here. The fact that they're used to our presence, the tourists, they come to see them, and they're going to serve as ambassadors for their own protection.
The immense Loango Park, stretching over 1,500 square kilometers, attracts tourists who are prepared to pay a lot of money to observe Kamaya and his fellow creatures. They spend 300,000 CFA francs, or about 450 euros, for 1 hour with the gorillas, in addition to access to the park and accommodation. Having been stopped for 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic, these visits have just resumed.
Tourism. It allows bringing needed funds into the park system to protect the gorillas and actually a lot of other species through them as well. They are often like a flagship species where they are very charismatic and yeah, that's quite right. But they help protect other species through protecting them also.
The gorillas are a kind of lost leader that boost ecotourism, and ecotourism is a source of revenue to finance the protection of endangered species. This is the virtuous cycle on which Gabon is banking.